Mr. Gulabchand, thank you so much for joining me. We meet at a time when there is another hurdle to the Lavasa project, and somehow people are looking at it as though it is coming to some kind of final call, that it's not going to possibly happen. Is that a pessimistic view of what is happening right now? What is the assessment right now?
Well, what I can say just now is that we are extremely disappointed. We are also financially pained by this decision. They have issued what they call an order, which is not an order. It is a letter issued with the nomenclature order, but in reality, all it says is that we are unable to give you an order because the state government has not done credible action. Now let's see the issue at stake here. Let us understand one thing, that we did start this project with the clearance by the Environment Ministry of the state of Maharashtra, through all the process of environment impact and appraisal, and then cleared. Because we were very clear that we do not need the permission of the central government. When we knew that we needed permissions, we applied for the next 3,000 hectares with them. In the meantime, some of the issues like tunnels, some power pipeline and power transmission lines, we have sought the MOEF's permission during this period, and they have cleared it. So the project has been done in full gaze. However, for reasons best known to the Ministry of Environment, they said that we should have taken their permission and closed this down on 26th November last year. And then when we went to court on the subject, it so happened that the court appreciated our view that they have no jurisdiction, that there is a merit in what we say, and admitted our petition. This is the issue. And then it was all kept in abeyance later on, because the Environment Ministry suggested at their discussion that let's find an amicable solution, we also suggested. And therefore we were asked to reapply, and we kept the whole court process in abeyance. And that reapplication process took almost till May. So 31st May, the Expert Appraisal Committee of the Ministry of Environment and Forest recommended the clearance of the project. And the Ministry of Environment actually accepted that recommendation. But while giving that, they filed an affidavit saying there are, out of some of the conditions put down, made them into preconditions. Now, let us forget, some of them are onerous, some of them are beyond their jurisdiction, but we still accepted the four that we can fulfill. However, one that the state government should do credible action is something we cannot fulfill, and we feel completely wronged that for that reason our environment clearance is being withheld.
This is of course a step before the Bombay High Court starts hearing the matter, and we will come to that. My question to you is that I've got the press clippings of the full year and the number of times you've met the Chief Minister over here, the number of times he has gone on record to say that prima facie it seems as though we should legalize what has already happened, and the sense one got was you would be asked to pay a compensation and development would continue. What happened? I mean, why is the state government backed off? I mean, what sense are you getting over there?
See, I'll tell you, the state government hasn't backed off. They have supported the project. Whether we perhaps need a more louder on the ground support, that makes it, but it doesn't always suit for the state government to quarrel with the central government to do things. So to some extent there is a state government support. It is they who wanted this hill station built, they who created the hill station policy, and in response we are doing so. So there is no question of legality or illegality here. The issue is that the Ministry of Environment very clearly agreed that they would process it without us admitting to any violation, because according to us we haven't done any. However, now we have reached a stage where it is necessary for both the central government and state government to sit down and think, why should we delay the clearance anymore? For example, I have made an appeal to the Prime Minister and the Cabinet that even now they can intervene and correct this injustice being done. It doesn't have to be settled in court. State government can make the same demand on the central government.
Have you heard from the Prime Minister after saying that?
No, but I would be appealing to him. I've appealed to him several times. I'll do it once more. And I will As I said, the letter would be on its way to the Prime Minister now. Our problem is that when you create some situation like this, we are unable to understand why this discrimination, why others have not been put these preconditions, ever.
In fact, you made a very pointed case against this precondition, saying that you were being singled out, but they are logical answers to pretty much all that you have put forth from the Ministry of Environmental Affairs, and let me ask you those questions. The first point was, you said that many such projects have gotten a go-ahead, have gone ahead and built up, despite the fact that they didn't have an environmental clearance or the said clearance. But the Ministry of Environmental Affairs says that there is no comparison because the sheer size of Lavasa and the first phase means that a project of that size needs different kind of outlook. I mean, what would you say to that?
I think this is being grossly unfair by the Environment Ministry. Has stated with clarity that projects that are of size larger than 20,000 square meters will be processed by the Ministry of Environment. That is the basic problem. That is the basic quarrel. And having said that, and having set that 20,000 square meters and above is a large enough project which requires clearance by the central government, they cannot now distinguish and say this is smaller or this is bigger. In a transparent, open process where the rules are very clear to everybody, all these projects are the same. They cannot say this is less or this is more. How can you say that somebody who has admitted a violation is not to be, no action should be taken against him?
In the past, you've also made the statement many a time that somewhere it's boiling down to jurisdiction and not the environmental
It is jurisdiction.
And right now, do you think you're being singled out because of some kind of vendetta, Mr. Gulabchand? Because what is happening? I mean, what's the larger story? Because from the list of all the charges that have been made against Lavasa over a period of time, they're varied charges. And the one that the MOEF has, used right now is the fact that the state government has to do its part. So what sense are you getting?
Amongst the charges may have made by anybody and any amount. But the fact was that their own expert appraisal committee has found this project to be environmentally acceptable. With conditions, of course, which is for every project. Having said that, the rest of the charges have no value. Important is, we still do feel that we can't understand why. We really cannot. Now, whether it's vendetta, whatever you think is the reason, it's better that you find out. You would be, as media, better at finding that out. But as far as I'm concerned, I can only say we feel victimized, we feel discriminated against, and we feel that gross injustice is being done. But look at what is at stake here, Mini. Important thing is, about 4,000 crores is invested in the ground there. It's not a small project. Number two, about 10,000 to 15,000 workers have lost their job, affecting about 100,000 people, the families, etc. All the shops hundreds of shops that these local villages and all had put up there are closed. About 2,000 homeowners, other businesses, contracts that we've had, their investments are being jeopardized. Third is that so many bankers, etc., who have invested with it, which is ordinary people's money, are also in stress. With all this at stake, plus, don't forget, of the 18 villages that are there, they have all passed unanimous resolutions supporting Lavasa. And that support is not just a support, they have even joined in the petition against the Ministry of Environment in...
There are lots of stakeholders in Lavasa, Mr. Gulabchand. It's not you alone, it's your investors. At this stage, what is the sense that you're getting from your investors? Are they willing to back you and this fight?
Listen, everybody has backed us. So far they have stood by. That is absolutely. But nobody is able to fully understand what is this. For all this at stake, over one condition that can go concurrent with whatever else is happening, as it does in every other project since the creation of the Ministry of Environment. This is
so how long
bizarre.
do you think they will back you? I mean, is there a little bit of worry that if things fester on, because it's been over a year now?
See, listen, this can't go on indefinitely, that is for sure. Okay, the financial distress is quite severe and it cannot. And I think it's more important for the decision makers in the central government, state government to realize this. Because you're also giving a message to other entrepreneurs and investors that they like basically certainty and predictability. Is the government's behavior on Lavasa augur well for certainty and predictability? That you can be ambushed any time in the execution of the project and it would then take months and possibly years to give decisions on, and they can do it and hold back for very, very tiny reasons, looking to the damage and looking to the distress and the serious distress it's causing. This condition is nothing they can easily move along with. And besides, how do you say that the state government has not met with this condition? Credible action, they're seeking their guidance. They will take action.
But my question is a little larger. Right now, this comes in the backdrop of a general slowdown that every infrastructure company is facing. How much holding power do you have, Ms. Gulabchand? You fought this battle for so long. How much more are you ready to push the envelope on this?
Let's put it this way, that nobody has an endless power to hold back. At the same time, I think the belief in the project is very good. And there is trust in the justice system that if the government doesn't, the justice system will correct this wrong that is being done. This is boiling down to very few things anyways. So fundamentally, you have to place your faith in this. And I'm very confident that we'll get justice. And I think that that's more important at this moment rather than answer this question of yours. Because yes, there is financial distress. Can it go on forever? No, it cannot. But is there faith in this project? Yes, because it's a good project. The question is, it is now going through a serious hiccup, which can jeopardize it, and therefore we need to do our best, both in making appeals to everybody, including media like you, that you please direct this to questions to the MOEF and question them on their governance practice.
Right. Let's talk some hard numbers right now, Ms. Gulabchand.
No hard numbers because we are in the silence period.
But in terms of, I think what is known right now is that Lavasa has lost money for you since January, about 2 crores a day. What is the kind of investment that you've put into it now?
See, as I told you, the total money that has gone into it is 4,000 crores, which is debt, which is other investors, everything to put together, including our own equity. But that's it. Now let's talk any numbers after the 21st meeting. Okay. In the meantime, I don't want to get into any of the numbers issue. But this is where it stands today.
You know, there is a sense that Lavasa wouldn't have been such a big crisis for you had the overall infrastructure spending or the overall economic activity been as robust as it was in, say, in 2008. And it's hurting right now because it's hurting in every direction.
Yes, it is. I think India has, in some respects, lost its way on infrastructure. There's a large amount of infrastructure. We already were behind the curve in providing infrastructure to the kind of economy India is and deserves to be. However, everybody took on that challenge saying that India is going places. Yes, there is a high risk in India. It's an emerging market, but the returns are also that much better. And therefore, in that, not euphoria, but the optimism and the hope and expectation that in an emerging market you don't get everything right. But since they are desirous of having this prosperity, having this growth, they will do all the things that are necessary to make those happen.
Put in context for us the slowdown this year. When we talk about a slowdown, there's been various things which have acted as hurdles. On one hand, you have rates going up, inflation being sticky, and very little in terms of new projects being given out. I mean, for infrastructure companies, what is it?
I'll tell you. First of all, a large number of projects have been stalled, delayed, or not come on board because of lack of environmental clearances, direct or indirect. Some are directly affected, some are affected because of coal linkages, some are affected because of port linkages, etc. Second is the decision making having slowed down. Many decisions to execute projects consider disputes on projects and therefore deferring payments on projects has become the order of the day. And then the interests on this keep mounting, and so the amounts become bigger and bigger, and therefore less solutions are possible.
What about the existing projects? Do you see a lot of delays there because your working capital needs have been very high, very few avenues to raise money with the stock markets and with the equity markets?
Yes, there are going to be problems.
So what is the medium-term outlook for infrastructure?
See, infrastructure medium-term outlook looks very glim in the sense that some projects slow down, therefore delays in projects, payments not coming, therefore funding of it will become a problem. And I think they will have to take a view on how we are going to make sure this is all restructured and moves on faster. But the primary way to do it is that while we are looking at inflation, we have a problem with inflation and also the remedy for inflation. Now many can agree or disagree with the manner in which our monetary policy was handled, whether we should have hiked the interest rate hard enough right to begin with or slow. But the fact is that we, in an emerging economy like India, interest rate is not going to be the only way. It can actually start.
But are we reaching a sort of crisis point? Because,
So what is happening is consumer finance is a small percentage of the total. So as a result, when you put high interest rates and restrict finance, it is the investment side that is getting affected more. And therefore, it is now actually becoming a cause for slowdown. You understand? So far...
So you're saying it will have a cascading impact and worsen the situation.
Yeah.
Now, for infrastructure companies, there was a time when you were the flavor of the season. Everything was about infrastructure. In the last 2 years, that whole story has been rewritten. I think from Jan 2008 to now, your market cap has fallen by 78% in the markets right now. Now, what is the road ahead? If you want to raise money for the existing projects, would getting private equity participation be a way out? You've done that with HCC concessions, with Xanders. Is that the way out of
some of the way out is that. But the basic point is, until the policy framework and policy management changes, we are going to still have a problem. How to manage yourself in the immediate crisis, people will look after themselves in some form or the other.
So how, when you talk about this crisis, as you said, things are possibly going to get worse before they get better. Yes. And we are possibly going towards, all of this culminating into a larger problem. How do you deal with the situation?
See, already the slowdown is affecting employment in terms of unemployment not getting absorbed. A certain amount of people losing jobs will now begin. And when this starts happening in a bigger way, it will come onto the street. And when it comes onto the street, you'll start feeling it. So I'm not predicting anything. I'm only telling you the logical conclusion of where it's going.
But now they're talking of a possible another round of hikes before it comes down. Do we have elbow room for that, given the situation right now? And would that create a debt kind of a trap for companies?
I would ask the monetary policy decision makers to weigh this with serious caution, because it is important for them to understand that it's going to hurt investment more than anything else. Second is, even though the gap between the interest rates in India and the rest of the world growing, we're still not getting monies flowing into the country. This is a question. Then we got volatility in the currency market. There's no reason for Indian rupee to lose its value the last 2 months, but it did. So there's a lot of volatility, a lot of uncertainty in the global economies as well. This sits on top of our own inefficiencies created by us. So I think it's time that we understand that the global atmosphere and storm is big and that we should be prepared for it. And for preparation, we can only look after ourselves and start taking some corrective measures, some loosening of the financing and availability, quickly creating reforms of debt markets, goods and services tax, company law, the new bill, a whole host of such, direct tax code, and the whole host of small administrative reforms for the confidence to return. You will be surprised how much confidence makes a difference. And while everything looks bleak, and I see a medium-term trouble in almost every infrastructure company and beyond, even some consumer companies are going to get hurt. What can I say? I mean, I have seen 1,000 things that were never going to happen in India happen. So I'm sure that this too shall pass. But of course it requires effort.
But this is a big step back. according to you?
It's
Despite the fact that we've had so many policy announcements over the last couple of weeks and months,
It is
you've
a
had
setback.
a new mining policy, a new manufacturing policy, etc., etc. You think the reform agenda has taken a back seat?
No, it has. It has not. Whether if you ask the government, they'll say no, it hasn't taken a back seat. But it certainly has slid down their agenda, or at least they're not able to tackle it hard enough. If the amount of times the interlocutors met Anna's team, if they spent that much time with the states, we probably have got our GST by now.
Last question, how far will you take the battle for Lavasa?
It's a great project.
And how far will you take it? And how far are you willing to fight for it?
Many, this is my country. This project was for this country. It meets an extraordinary need of this country. I will take it to whatever it takes to make it happen.
Even if it is a question of losing money and time and effort behind it?
Even if it means people are making us lose money. It's not happening on its own.
And what about your investors? You think they're going to stick by you?
The project is big enough. And the project has good returns at the end of it. And the project fulfills a big need, therefore it will remain in demand.
So you'll fight for it?
Yes.